We usually think of silence as, well, nothing, an absence of sound, right? A void. Sometimes it's even a little awkward. But what if that's completely wrong? What if silence is the exact opposite of empty? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a totally different way of seeing silence, not as a void, but as something incredibly powerful, a real, tangible presence.
So, first off, let me ask you something. Just take a second and really think about it. When you find yourself in total, absolute silence, like no phone buzzing, no music, nobody talking, how does that actually feel? For a lot of us, if we're being honest, it's kind of uncomfortable, right? Maybe even a little agitating. Our minds just start racing, trying to fill that quiet space. So, why is that? What's going on there? Okay, so this really gets to the heart of a huge shift in perspective. On one hand, you've got our typical modern view. Silence is just an absence of sound. It's that awkward gap in a conversation, a void we rush to fill with noise. But then, there's this much older, much deeper perspective coming from Indian spirituality. And in this view, silence is the total opposite. It's a presence of awareness. It's a kind of inner stillness where truth can finally actually bubble up to the surface. And to really get our heads around this, we actually need a new word, because silence doesn't quite cut it. That word is Maun. Seriously, this ancient concept is the key. It's what unlocks the real power of silence, helping us see it not as something that's missing, but as something that's, well, incredibly full.
So what exactly is Maun? Well, it's not just about not talking or forcing yourself to be quiet. It's a state of being. You know that feeling of deep inner stillness you can sometimes find even when you're in a loud, chaotic place? That's it. It's a state where your mind just stops reacting to every little thing. It's just pure, centered awareness.
The ancient rishis, the wise sages, had this really profound insight about this. They basically said that language, words, they're limited. Words can point to the truth. They can describe an experience, but they can never be the truth itself. It's like a finger pointing at the moon. The real understanding, they argued, is revealed directly to you in the stillness of Maun.
And this wasn't just some abstract idea. They actually put it into practice in the ancient Gurukul education system. In a Gurukul, the teacher wasn't some lecturer just droning on and on. In fact, they often taught in complete silence. The students learned just by being in the teacher's presence, by observing, by feeling, by absorbing the knowledge directly. The learning was happening on this much deeper, more intuitive level that words couldn't even touch.
Okay, so if silence is this profound, powerful thing, then why do so many of us basically run from it? Why does it feel so difficult, so challenging? Let's dig into that discomfort a little bit.
The thing is, silence is difficult because it's brutally honest. When we strip away all the external noise, we're also stripping away our distractions. All those masks we put on for the world, they start to dissolve. And then what happens? All the stuff we've been pushing down comes to the surface. Suppressed emotions, uncomfortable feelings, maybe even truths we've been trying really hard to avoid. See, the silence doesn't create any of the stuff. It just reveals what was already there all along.
And this really points to a fundamental conflict that's going on inside all of us. You have your restless, thinking mind, and what does it want? It wants noise, it wants stimulation, it wants to be kept busy 24/7. But then there's a deeper part of you, call it your soul, your spirit, your core being, whatever, and that part of you is actually craving the peace and clarity that only comes from silence. And most of the time, we're stuck right in the middle of this crazy tug of war.
In the Hindu tradition, there's actually a perfect embodiment of this kind of powerful silence. The deity Shiva. He's often called Mahamoni, which means the great silent one. And his silence isn't weak or empty, no way. It's a symbol of this infinite, powerful presence, an awareness so vast that it exists completely beyond the chaos of our everyday thoughts and emotions. It represents that fundamental stillness that everything else comes from.
In fact, ancient texts like the Mandukya Upanishad actually lay this all out. They describe 4 states of consciousness. Now, we're all familiar with the first 3, right? There's our waking state, there's dreaming, and then there's that deep, dreamless sleep. But they talk about a 4th state, and it's called Turiya. And Turiya is described as pure awareness, a state where you are fully conscious, but without any thought. And what is that state, really? It is that profound living silence we've been talking about. So, okay, this all sounds super profound, I get it.
But how do we actually connect with it? How do we find this presence for ourselves and not just talk about it as a theory? Well, for many people, the path is through meditation.
But, and this is a big but, here's where almost all of us get it wrong at first. We sit down to meditate, and we think the whole point is to fight our mind, right? To wrestle our thoughts to the ground and force our mind to be a completely blank slate. We think we're supposed to just stop thinking. But that's not it at all. The real secret, the real magic of meditation is just about noticing the space between your thoughts. Think about it. No matter how fast your mind is racing, there's always a tiny little gap, a split second of stillness. That gap, that pause, that's the silence. That's the presence. So the goal isn't to get rid of the thoughts, it's just to become more and more aware of the silence they're all coming from. I think this quote just captures the whole thing perfectly. When that constant internal chatter, all the words bouncing around in our heads, when that finally starts to fade into the background, something else gets a chance to come forward. Truth, intuition, that deep sense of just knowing something. It's all waiting for us in that quiet space. And this is so important to understand. A lot of us are afraid of silence because we think it's going to make us feel lonely or isolated. But real, true inner silence does the complete opposite. It actually dissolves that feeling of being separate from everything and everyone. It brings you back home to who you really are, your most authentic self. It's not about isolation, it's the ultimate act of connection.
And what happens in the end? When you can really rest in that inner silence, you get to experience yourself beyond all the labels we carry around. Beyond your job title, beyond your history, your worries, even your own name. You just exist. You are pure awareness with no story attached to it.
So that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. If silence is an empty space, if it's actually a presence that's full of awareness and truth, what might you discover if you actually gave yourself a chance to listen to it? What's waiting for you in your silence?